What's up guys, it's Alex here, your friendly reef dog. Now there's a common misconception that keeping a saltwater tank is nigh on impossible and that you pretty much need a degree in marine biology to do so. And hobbyists like me just love to tell you how difficult it is and how clever we are for being able to do it. And while there are parts of the hobby that will be a lot more demanding of your time, research and patience, the fundamentals are really not that difficult and not much harder than keeping a freshwater tank. So today I'm going to tell you just how simple it can be to set up and run a simple marine tank. And I'll do so by showing you how simple the equipment can be, how hardy some of the fish and corals can be, and how little maintenance you'll need to do on a very simple tank. Now if this is your first time here and you want weekly reefing goodness like this, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on anything. Right, let's take a look. Starting with equipment then, and as a newbie, the range of different products available can be pretty daunting, but you can have an awesome saltwater tank with only a few simple bits of kit. If you get a tank with a sump like the ever popular Red Sea Reefer range, the only extra equipment you need is a filter known as a protein skimmer to process fish waste, a heater to keep your water warm, a pump to push water from your sump to the main tank, a pump in the main tank to create flow, some rocks and sand to give a natural look to your aquarium, and a marine spec light. And that's it, nothing else. While there are numerous other options when it comes to equipment, that really is all you need to set up the simple tank I'm talking about in this video. In fact, it can be even easier than that. If you don't fancy a sump, there are plenty of all-in-one tanks available. They keep your filter and other equipment behind a screen in the display tank. And if you don't want the expense of a fancy tank, you can even run a saltwater tank with a canister filter, more commonly seen in freshwater tanks. So with the simple equipment sorted, let's take a look at what hardy fish and easy corals you can keep. Marine fish all tend to be brightly coloured and have interesting personalities, so even the easiest, most common species will give you a genuinely spectacular and interesting tank. Regular favourites for beginners are things like clownfish, blennies, gobies, cardinal fish, royal grammars and rabbitfish, all of which appear in the clips you're seeing now, and some of which will even eat nuisance algae to keep your tank looking on point. When it comes to fish, you'll be fine as long as you take it slow and build up your livestock over a period of time. Now there are saltwater fish you'll want to avoid as a beginner, some can be aggressive or get too big for your tank, but there's so much information available online that you can easily avoid any problems with a quick Google of the fish's name while you're in your local fish shop. There's a good chance that search will take you to liveaquaria.com, which is also an excellent site to help you choose fish. You can filter their database by the size of the tank the fish will need, their care level from easy to expert, and their temperament. There are other filter options too, and it's a fantastic resource that will easily help you choose fish that are right for your tank. And that takes us on to corals. This is probably the single area that is seen as the most daunting among non-hobbyists. And that reputation is largely down to stony corals like Aquapora that you'll see in videos of the Great Barrier Reef. Now the delicate reputation of Aquapora corals is well and truly justified, but it doesn't extend to all corals, and there are plenty of options that are just as easy to keep as the fish I've mentioned. Hardy soft corals that don't have a stony skeleton, like mushrooms, toadstools, green star polyps and pulsing xenia, are probably the most common first purchase for new hobbyists. And with corals like that, you're more likely to struggle to stop them growing fast than keep them alive. While they will all appreciate good quality water conditions, they're generally extremely tolerant of poor quality water and of chemistry changes that you can't see with your naked eye. So even if the corals do start to look a little sad, with a pinch of husbandry, it's far more likely that they'll return to their best than waste away. And entry-level corals can be just as mesmerising as trickier species. They give off a fluorescent glow under blue LED lights, sway gently in your tank's flow, and some will even host your clownfish. All of which will be enough to hold your interest for months and years, and will also stand you in good stead if and when you decide to try your hand at more intermediate corals. And finally, I want to tackle maintenance. As with any pet, saltwater fish and corals will require a degree of input from you, but it doesn't have to be too demanding. You'll need to take a few seconds to clean algae off your glass once or twice a week, and you'll need to do a 10% water change once a week to remove any undesirables from your tank, and to add back in any elements that have been depleted. Best practice is to filter and mix your own water, but you can also buy pre-mixed salt water from your local fish store. You'll also need to empty and clean your filter cup once a week, which admittedly is not the most pleasant part of the hobby, and make sure your top-off reservoir is topped up with fresh water. Saltwater tanks evaporate fresh water, leaving the salt behind, so you need to replace that water with fresh water, not salt water. But an automatic top-off system will take care of that for you. An auto top-off consists of a sensor that checks when your water level drops, When that happens, it means your tank has lost water to evaporation, so it turns on a small pump and quickly pulls fresh water in from your top-off reservoir. All you need to do is make sure your freshwater reservoir doesn't run dry by topping it up once a week. So if you thought it was going to be difficult to keep your salinity at the right level, you can see how easy it really is. And apart from that, all you need to do is a bit of testing. With soft corals, you'll probably be able to get away with only testing salinity, nitrate and phosphate regularly. Salinity takes a matter of seconds and will probably almost always be unchanged. Testing nitrate and phosphate will take about 10 minutes of your time and will allow you to keep on top of those levels, which will keep your corals healthy and any undesirable algae in your tank to a minimum. So all in all, you're looking at less than an hour a week for a simple small tank. And if you keep on top of your maintenance, particularly water changes, you're less likely to run into problems further on down the line. And if that's too much work for you, you can even get equipment to automate your water changes and parameter testing, leaving you with very little to do but enjoy your beautiful fish tank. Now all of this is based on running a simple tank, and it's probably fair to say this is the minimum you'll need to do to keep your tank happy. As with anything in life, you get out what you put in, so the more seriously you take the hobby, the more success you'll have. But it really doesn't have to be a difficult hobby, and if you take things slowly and stick to beginner-friendly fishing corals, you absolutely can have an awesome marine tank without much more skill and effort than is required to run a freshwater tank. And unlike 20 years ago when the hobby was shrouded in mystery, there's an absolute wealth of information out there. So any problem you run into will have been encountered and overcome by thousands of people before you. Now if you want the full picture, I'm also going to make a video showing you how difficult and demanding the hobby can be. So subscribe and hit the notification bell to see how the hobby can become a demanding but rewarding obsession.